Rise of the Undead, the curse of dead evil rise again. It was a dark and stormy night, and the employees at the Dead Evil Rise Again amusement park were closing up for the evening. As they finished their tasks and headed to their cars, they couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. They had heard rumors about the park's manager, Mr. Johnson, and the strange rituals he performed in the underground tunnels beneath the park. Some even claimed to have seen him practicing dark magic. As the last employee left, Mr. Johnson emerged from the shadows, his eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. He approached the entrance to the park, which was adorned with a sign reading "Dead Evil Rise Again, enter if you dare." Suddenly, the sign began to flicker and distort, and the ground shook beneath Mr. Johnson's feet. The amusement park came to life, but it was not the lively and cheerful place it had once been. The rides creaked and groaned as they moved. The animatronics jerked to life and began to move with a jerky, unnatural motion, and the screams of the undead filled the air. Mr. Johnson laughed maniacally as he walked through the park, reveling in the chaos he had unleashed. The employees who had just left the park heard the commotion and turned back to see what was happening. They were horrified to see Mr. Johnson at the center of the madness, his eyes still glowing with an eerie light. As they watched in terror, the undead began to follow Mr. Johnson out of the park and into the surrounding town. The employees realized too late that they were trapped, surrounded by the vengeful dead and the madman who had summoned them. In the end, no one was able to escape the terror of Dead Evil Rise Again, and the manager's dark rituals continued to haunt the town for years to come. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months, but the terror of Dead Evil Rise Again continued to plague the town. The undead roamed the streets at night, and strange occurrences became commonplace. People reported hearing whispers and seeing shadowy figures lurking in the corners of their vision. The air itself seemed to hum with an ominous energy, and many of the townspeople couldn't help but feel that they were being watched. As time passed, the manager's madness only grew worse. He became more and more obsessed with the power he had gained, and his dark rituals became more frequent and elaborate. One night, a group of brave townspeople banded together and decided to put an end to the horror once and for all. They made their way to the entrance of the park, armed with torches and makeshift weapons. As they stepped inside, they were immediately met with a wave of undead creatures. The battle was fierce, and many lost their lives. But eventually, the townspeople were able to reach Mr. Johnson. They found him at the center of the park, surrounded by a swirling vortex of darkness. He was chanting in a language they didn't understand, and his eyes blazed with an unholy fire. The townspeople attacked, but Mr. Johnson was too powerful. He summoned the undead to fight for him, and they swarmed around the group, tearing them apart. In the end, only a handful of the townspeople managed to escape the park alive. They fled the town, never looking back. But the horrors they had experienced stayed with them for the rest of their lives. As for Mr. Johnson, no one knows what became of him. Some say he was consumed by the darkness he had summoned, while others believe he still wanders the park, a madman with no memory of his past or the atrocities he committed. Years passed, and the town slowly became a ghost town. The few remaining residents whispered in hushed tones about the horrors they had seen, too afraid to speak too loudly lest they awaken the spirits that still lurked in the shadows. But one night, a group of thrill-seekers stumbled upon the abandoned amusement park. They were looking for a place to party, and the eerie atmosphere of the park seemed like the perfect backdrop for their festivities. As they set up their equipment, they began to hear strange noises coming from the shadows. At first, they thought it was just their imagination, but soon they realized that they were not alone. The undead had returned, and they were more powerful than ever. The thrill seekers tried to flee, but they found that the park had become a maze, twisting and turning on itself in impossible ways. They stumbled upon Mr. Johnson's old lair, and to their horror, they found that he was still there, his body twisted and contorted by the dark magic he had wielded. He laughed as he attacked them, his eyes blazing with a demonic fire. The thrill seekers fought back with all their might, but it was no use. Mr. Johnson was too powerful, and he began to drag them down into the darkness with him. As they screamed in terror, the park began to collapse around them. The rides and attractions came to life, tearing themselves apart in a frenzy of destruction. The thrill seekers were never seen again, and the park remained abandoned, a testament to the horror that had taken place there. But some say that on certain nights, you can still hear the laughter of Mr. Johnson echoing through the deserted streets, a warning to all who dared to enter the park. Years passed, and the abandoned Dead Evil Rise Again amusement park became a legend in the surrounding towns. People whispered of the horrors that had taken place there, and the few who dared to venture near the place swore that they could hear the screams of the thrill seekers who had disappeared into the darkness. But one night, a group of teenagers decided to test their courage and explore the park. They laughed and joked as they made their way through the overgrown pathways, but their bravado soon turned to fear as they realized that they were not alone. The undead had returned, and they were hungry for fresh blood. The teenagers ran in terror, but they found that the park had become a twisted labyrinth, with no clear path to safety. As they stumbled through the darkness, they found themselves in Mr. Johnson's old lair. To their horror, they saw that he was still there, his body twisted and warped by the dark magic he had wielded. He cackled as he approached them, his eyes burning with an otherworldly fire. The teenagers tried to fight back, but Mr. Johnson was too powerful. He summoned the undead to do his bidding, and they swarmed around the teenagers, tearing them apart with inhuman strength. The screams of the teenagers echoed through the park, and the air itself seemed to thicken with a sense of malevolent energy. The rides and attractions came to life, twisting and writhing in the darkness. In the end, only one teenager managed to escape the park alive. They stumbled through the streets, their mind broken by the horrors they had witnessed. They told their tale to the authorities, but no one believed them. To this day, Dead Evil Rise Again remains a cursed place, a reminder of the darkness that lurks just beneath the surface of the world. The undead still roam the park, and some say that Mr. Johnson is still there, his laughter echoing through the abandoned streets. The park remains a testament to the horrors of the past, and a warning to all who dare to enter its gates.